You know, I never did explain this. Alright, so basically every whip-tailed lizard alive is female. All the males got real life cancelled. To reproduce, they kinda just clone themselves by developing an embryo without the help of a male. One of the few animals that never need a gender reveal because it's always going to be a girl. But there's a catch. To trigger ovulation and egg production, one female will mount another and then pretend to be a guy for about 30 seconds or however long that kind of thing takes. Which is why scientists call them lesbian lizards. But there's one more catch. The lizard has extra chromosomes. That means that the daughter that comes out technically isn't a perfect clone of her mother. It's a bunch of boring sciencey stuff that you definitely don't care about, but basically when your parents collabed and created you, a cell's chromosomes got copied and then that cell got divided twice, resulting in 4 haploid cells that each have half the DNA of the original. But you have 2 parents, and this lesbian lizard always only has 1. So this lizard starts off with twice as many chromosomes, that way it ends up with a full set. Which is why this lizard has no use for men. Moral of this video, if women ever figure this out, we might be actually, we wouldn't be, and that would be the problem. And one more thing, koalas are lesbians, so yeah, that is a fact. So researchers were studying koalas in captivity, as one does, and it turned out female koalas would reject the advances of males in their enclosure and then go and get physical with other females. Not like literally, right after dubbing the male, they would go and hook up with the closest female. Sometimes multiple females would mount each other at the same time. In fact, researchers specifically mentioned one time where 5 koalas got involved. No etiquette, no rules, just a raging homosexual free-for-all. Scientists studying this said that for every traditional male-female pairing, there are another 3 couples engaging in gay koala coitus. And you're probably wondering why I even know so much about this. According to researchers, wild koalas brought into captivity clearly displayed homosexual behavior, but it was only the females that swung both ways. But there might be a reason. Female koalas have signs when they're in heat and ready to mate. Males can't recognize those signs, so when one shoots his shot, it usually involves scratching, clawing, and a lot of screaming. Sometimes the heat koala will knock his crush out of the tree as he tries to convince her. Since koala dating looks more like a cage fight, it's possible some females would rather focus their hormones on another female, which would explain the rampant gay koala orgies. Female koalas are two-way players, and you're just gonna have to be okay with that. Australia has an animal that twerks its enemies to death, and not nearly enough people talk about it. Y'all know the furry fire hydrant, the wombat. Of course you do. First of all, they're bigger than society wants to tell you, and the biggest ones can weigh almost 80 pounds. And number 2, its only defense is that its ass is reinforced with cartilage and muscle. Not even kidding, this is the type of time they're on. So when a predator like a fox chases the wombat will run to its burrow and dive into the tunnel ass first like a stripper. If the predator manages to force its head into the burrow, this plush bowling ball will use its backside to crush its head against the roof of the tunnel. Yup, that's right, death by twerking. They'll also throw in a few donkey kicks to the face to really hammer home the point that they are not to be fucked with. Oh, and also they can charge you backwards with that armored ass and take both your ACLs. They're so ridiculous that if you hit one with your car, the wombat will die, and probably take your car with it. Because they're built like walking mini fridges with a low center of gravity, wombats can act as a launching ramp that can send your car off the ground with you in it. Basically, you're looking at a live-action Ewok that can fade your ass in more ways than one. Moral of this video, your chances of getting twerked to death by a wombat may be low, but they will never be 0. This animal's a lot weirder than you think. Meet the Deerbra, aka the Okapi, aka the reason Kevin Hart was late to work. Even though it looks like a horse appropriating zebra culture, it's actually the only living relative of the giraffe. They actually have a lot in common. They both have horns called ossicones, basically used to flex for girls. They both spread their legs to get a drink, although giraffes do it because they're tall, okapis do it because that's just who they are. And like the giraffe, the okapi has a long, dark 14-inch prehensile tongue that they use to grab leaves. They also use it as a built-in Q-tip to clean their ears. This Klondike horse is the giraffe's little cousin, but they're not little, they can weigh over 700 pounds. If you're ever in the jungles of the Congo, there's an easy way to know if one's around. Okapis have scent glands on their feet that produces a sticky tar that they mark their territory with. Follow the tar and you'll find the animal that used to be called the African unicorn. That's because they were so weird looking and so painfully shy that early Europeans thought they were a mythical creature, until they were officially sighted and documented in 1902. And I don't blame them, because this honestly looks like animal casserole made from a bunch of stuff left over. And for a cousin of the giraffe, they're pretty short. If you're above the height of 5 feet, you're taller than most of them. No fact here, just a baby okapi. A photocopy, if you will. They're the national animal of the Democratic Republic of Congo, but you can also find them in the Bronx, San Diego, Denver, Dallas, Houston, and a bunch of other zoos. And if you're a 5'4" comedian, apparently on the side of the road on the way to work. Animals that make me disregard my crippling fear of the ocean and anything in it. This is a sea bunny. It's a Dorid nudibranch, basically a sea slug that looks like a cotton ball. It's covered in papillae, which not only helps it feel around, but also makes it look like a fluffy ocean rabbit. Those rabbit ears are actually rhinopores that help it detect chemicals in the water. And it is aggressively adorable. The sea pig. It's actually a deep sea cucumber from the Elazapodida order. They breathe from their anus and they're built to live in the deep sea, so if you ever try to bring one out of its safe space, it will literally fall apart. They're also poisonous to eat, but come on. You can't tell me they're not cute. I mean, you could, but then your mother would have raised a fucking liar. And now we have the Ascidians, aka the tunicates, aka the sea squirts, aka Finding Nemo but make it Tim Burton. They're invertebrate filter feeders found all over the world. Some of them can swim freely, but most of them just attach themselves to a rock and call it life. Also, they're called sea squirts because if you take them out of the sea, they'll squirt. And I don't know what it is about them, but yes. Also, it would be a first-degree offense if I didn't mention the skeleton panda sea squirt. I am 99% sure this is Photoshop, but that 1% is what got me out of bed this morning, so here we are. 5 things I guarantee you didn't know about gorillas. The sound of them beating their chests is something no words can possibly ever prepare you for. This 300 to 400 pound live action Donkey Kong is afraid of insects like caterpillars and reptiles, especially chameleons. Baby gorillas will play with almost anything but hit the brakes immediately the moment they see this. Same dude y'all thought could do something with Godzilla gets sent packing by his mini-me. Now ain't that a bit? On top of that, gorillas hate water and they really hate rain. If a troop of gorillas gets caught in a storm, they'll just sit motionless and wait for the rain to pass. If there's a cave or some shelter nearby, they'll go ahead and hide in it too. Which is weird because gorillas will walk through swamps and babies will play in water, but rain is where they draw the line. Gorillas bite as hard as grizzlies and twice as hard as lions. A motivated grizzly bear has a bite force of about 1,100 pounds per square inch. Streets say that's enough to crush a bowling ball. But gorillas have a bite force of 1,300 pounds per square inch. And who y'all call the king of the jungle is literally half as strong, checking in at 650. That mouthpiece is what helps them crush 40 pounds of vegetation every day. To digest it all, gorillas have a massive amount of bacteria in their gut, which also means gorillas are almost always constantly farting. No, but like seriously, they don't stop. If there's a family of gorillas nearby, best believe you're gonna smell them way before you see them. That's 5 facts you didn't know about gorillas. Comment what animal you want next. Shark facts that nobody ever told you. Greenland sharks have been found with reindeer and polar bear remains in their stomachs, and one was even caught choking on a piece of moose off Newfoundland. US Navy submarines were forced to reinforce their sonar domes with fiberglass because the cookie cutter shark kept mistaking them for whales and biting cookie-shaped holes in them. Statistically, you're more likely to get game overed by a falling coconut or a vending machine than an actual shark. Sharks technically have 2 of that things, guys usually only have 1 of. The guy shark will use one of his 2 claspers to deliver baby maker to the female, all while holding her down by biting her hard enough to sometimes leave scars. Sharks do be freaky. Female sharks are more ran through than a yellow light, to the point where one shark litter can have up to 5 different fathers. Basically a whole starting lineup would pass the paternity test, but since there's no child support in the ocean, they chillin'. The sand tiger shark will swim around and subtract every single one of their siblings and eat them, all while still inside the mother's uterus. The baby catches multiple life sentences before he technically even starts his, as he puts half his family reunion on his shirt.
Something you'll get a lot of hate for if you say it out loud.
These guys deserved way better than they got. Hear me out, okay? So all we know is that their entire population got banished to the literal shadow realm, the elephant graveyard. They never really tell us why, so I'm not saying racism, but it's definitely something. Then Mr. I Can't Wait to Be King decides to deliberately disobey his father and not only trespass on their land, but insults them right to their face. And then right before the hyenas are about to exercise what Americans call stand your ground, Mufasa swoops in and just violates their entire way of life. And then he says this:
"If you ever come near my son again."
Imagine somebody's child crawls into your backyard, calls you stupid, and then their father pulls up and beats the brakes off you, only to say,
"If you ever come near my son again."
Yeah, I'd be heated too. Fast forward after they help Scar come up, bro wanna act different and start treating them like second-class citizens. After they turn Scar into a rogue, we never see them again. Did they get banned again? Did they starve to death? We don't know, cause Disney ain't tell us. And when you think about it, the only reason they went along with it is just cause they wanted food. Yeah, Disney did them dirty. Hyenas deserve better. And their own movie. You will not change my mind. These are 3 ways cats finessed humanity and got away with it. Number 1, they literally mind control us. Cats carry a parasite that's been proven to psychologically affect rats and mice, making them less fearful of cats and easier to get clapped. Normal rats will avoid areas that smell like cat or cat urine, where infected rats will give substantially less piss. But this parasite can affect humans, is believed to cause an uncontrollable attraction to cats to the point where you care for them like a crazy cat lady. And for those calling cap, up to half of God's roster can have toxoplasmosis that can even be passed from mother to child during pregnancy. They basically hypnotize their way into our home, ain't that a bit? Number 2, a cat's meow is just them manipulating us. In the wild, cats would normally never meow. It's only used for mothers and kittens to communicate with each other, or for 2 cats that got separated. Basically, adult cats would never meow to another cat, but they figured out it's a sound that humans respond to. So when a cat meows, it's basically using baby talk to get your attention, and you fall for it. Some cats will even use a purr cry that humans find impossible to ignore, and that's how you know they know exactly what they're doing. Number 3, they domesticated themselves, because unlike dogs, goats, and pigs, we had no reason to domesticate them ourselves. We don't eat them, and we don't use them to hunt for food like we did with dogs, so technically there was no real reason to have them as pets. But cats saw us as free food and vibes, so they tolerated us just enough to eventually diverge from their wild relatives. Which is why an animal that never needed to be a pet is now in millions of homes around the world, and no animal has ever finessed that hard. And then they got the audacity to act like they're too good for us, like bruh, you chose this life. There's being down bad, and there's being this beetle. So the flower beetle, right? The competition for females is so high that it causes the males to do some of the most down atrocious things I've ever heard of. Because male flower beetles are bisexual, and half the time they're mating, they're actually mounting another male. They'll even go as far as to release inside them. But there's actually a reason for this. Basically, by injecting another male with their own baby maker, if that male mates with a female, it's possible that the love juice of the first male is what gets transferred. Meaning it's possible for a male to knock up a female without ever meeting her, because he turned his competition into a walking spank bank. And believe it or not, a lot of male insects actually swing the other way, but not by choice. A lot of times insects can't tell the difference between a male and a female, and in an evolutionary sense, you're actually better off mating with as many as your kind as possible, even if you get it wrong sometimes than you are by being stingy and possibly missing out on an opportunity. Also, don't ask me how I got this picture, I'm not proud of it. But none of that compares to the depths of hell the flower beetle goes to, so whoever DM me and ask me what's the most sus animal out there, there's your answer. Follow me on Instagram, please, and thank you.